What's up? I figured out. What is it? It's almost 8 o'clock in the morning. I come out here, I think for the last couple weeks, every morning to check on this thing. All this excess will get cut away that goes up the hill. I've got to seal that line up all the way over. Hard to see. You can see what looks like clear tape right there. Well, there's a seam there, and that's already been sealed up until that clear spot. Because I don't expect the water to get all the way up there. I'm just getting enough to come in right along this top ledge right here, just enough to kind of weigh it down, and eventually going to put sand and stuff over the top of this as well. We'll cut out all the excess around the backside. Looking for a scrapper right now to help get rid of all this junk that we pulled out of the ground here when we dug this out. And then right there, I made a little floaty island thing, because there was a moment there every morning I'd come out, if I didn't find a field mouse out in here, I ended up finding a squirrel, and I even found a damn bird in here. So, I mean, since I put that thing in there, I haven't been finding any more small dead rodents or animals or whatever in my pond, but hopefully that's helping or whatever. On average, this thing here, because I'm looking at where the water line is, yesterday I raised this spot right here, just on this side of that butterfly tree or bush or whatever. Raised it up about a foot, but I'll probably raise it up again when the water gets up higher. So that way the water line can get up over this just fine without that. And then eventually I'm going to be putting in a spillway over here so that when the water gets up so high it can spill over. I think on average in a 12-hour time span there's about 1 inch loss of water. Hard for me to tell a little bit on some of it after it's gotten so full, but like if you look right here, you can see that white line that's down in the water, and there's rocks down in there. I don't know if you can see it because the screen's smaller for me, but we had a seal there come apart, so we had to reseal it, and then we've got rocks laying across it. There's a spot in there I'm pretty sure is partly open a little bit, and that's where we're getting the loss. That'll go away when I go to wash these bastards off, and then take them out there and set them in there and whatnot. The water over there where the barrel is, believe it or not, that barrel's about 5 feet, 6 feet underwater. I mean, that whole spot's over my head. This spot here is about waist deep, so if I was to excuse me, move over here, so just to the left of that little island thing I had to make out there, there's a drop off right in here. So everything here is right around, it goes to about waist deep. Where the ducky thing is, well, the little island thing, to the right, you're looking at between 5 and 7 feet deep. And when it's done, it'll be right around between 9 and 11 feet deep once it's done. Like I said, once all this is trimmed back and cleaned up and all that, I'll eventually start planting trees all the way around this, fruit and nut trees, that type of stuff. It'll help provide shade for the pond, because the only time of year that we really have to worry about like algae blooms is in the late summer. And so between having the keeping some sort of shade over it to help keep that from happening. And then also I was doing homework on what kind of fish or freshwater type animals or whatever are good for helping keep like algae and all that crap from growing so much in there. And yeah, there's the, I can't pronounce the full name, but the plecos, the plecosimus or whatever they're called. The plecos, I guess there's certain types of catfish, all that stuff. But I found snails. There's a certain type of snail that I want to get for this that will be good for this. But then there's this Asian type more like a catfish, I guess, but it's able to withstand cold water, colder temperatures, and it's really good at cleaning stuff up. So once, I'm probably going to have to order those ones, though. The snails I can find at most pet stores, but the other, it might be a pain in the butt. I also got to get a hold of vector control so I can get the little fishes that they give you to eat all the mosquito babies and shit. And eat all the little bugs out of the water. And in due time, it's going to cost about right in the $200 range for me to get a half a dozen to a dozen lake trout to put in here. I don't want koi in my pond. I want some actual trout fish in here. Those would be my koi. But yeah, no, I just figured I'd give a little bit of an update on my project here. After in the meantime, I've been working on another project, which will be able to, in the process, I'll actually be able to help my dad retire finally. Because he's been working his ass off and taking care of my mom. And part of the reason why he continues to work so hard is because he's got, I think, like 3 or 4 bills or something like that he wants to pay off before he fully retires. That way he doesn't have to worry about them type thing again. And so I'm pulling I've already talked to my bank. It's the same bank that I got my mortgage loan through. And so I already know I can get the equity loan. I could probably pull 3-4 times as much from the equity loan than I'm actually doing. Not probably, I could. But I'm not going that route. I don't want to fuck myself in the long run. Pulling the equity loan to be able to get my own business going. But then I'm not going to say exactly how much, because this is YouTube. But I'm paying off the bills for my dad so that he can finally quit and stop working and be home with my mom. So yeah, I just want to make sure that I want to make sure that my dad can actually be home with my mom. She has dementia, and it's getting harder and harder for him every day to go to work, obviously at his age, and try and take care of my mom. And I figured, since they helped me get this place, because my dad's my co-signer on this, and then he helped with part of the down payment, where I had to sell my tractor and other stuff to take care of some of the repairs and deal with the bats and all. I mean, when we first got the place, we didn't know that we had a bat infestation, and it ended up costing like almost $8,000. But that's why I had to sell my tractor, was to cover that and have money to cover to get the electrical wiring in the house redone. But no, I'll since they help out with this place, and originally, because of everything that's been going on between my kids and then what we've been dealing with the public out here, the politics, all that shit, it's getting to be too much. I mean, you can't have a normal life without somebody wanting to scream at you and either call you a racist Nazi or a liberal or something, because you don't mix in with everybody else. I definitely don't. But we were gonna move out to Missouri. You know, a little more churches out that way too. But with my mom's health the way it is, if my folks are gonna be selling their house, moving anywhere, I'd rather them move down this way so that it's easier, obviously, for myself to be able to, help them out, but also so that they don't have to make that big ass trip, to the Midwest. I might eventually move out there anyways, but it won't be for a while. It depends on how things go here, and I'm not going to move until, God forbid, because I hate just the thought of saying it, but it's part of life, When my parents are gone, then I'll consider moving. Because I don't have anybody else but them. I have my best friend Nate, which, honesty, part of me is kind of hoping I can talk him into moving too. He's more of a brother to me than just a friend. But I don't have anybody here. I mean, I have kids, but all the shit talking that has been done between one of my kids' moms and then the shit talking one of my kids have done, it's done enough damage that I'll just say that there was enough threats made that I could legally defend myself now, even from my own child. And that should never, ever be that way, period. Should never be that way. That's just how it is. But no, I was doing the homework, was making the phone calls, doing what, pavement pounding I could to find out what I need to do to be able to do an equity loan and all that. And the idea that, well, more was already approved for I already have my home loan thing through this bank. I'll get the equity loan, and in the end, it might cost me an extra $300 a month, but I get the small business going. It'll be fine, even if, let's say, hypothetically, it doesn't work out. If I have to find another means of income, I can. If I've got to go back to work, depending on the job, I'll do it. I've become more selective and picky about where I work and what I do, because it's a combination of the people that work there. I've dealt with some employee abuses too. Really bad ones. And now that I know I have high spectrum ASD, I kind of now know why. If I'd known then, I don't know if I would have gotten half the shit that I got from my coworkers at the different jobs. It's not just my physical aspect and my physical health and why I won't work at some places. It's the experiences I've already had to deal with working with these different places and the kind of people I've had to work with. I've used to not have a problem. Sorry about all this shit. This stuff here, the tires, there's a roll of plastic, some glass bottles. These are all things that I pulled out of the ground, and I'm a little self-conscious about it. We pulled it all out of here along with all that shit and that shit. And there's another pile that's up down there by my chicken coop. But I used to see. When I found a place that I really enjoyed working, I stayed there as long as I could. I was there for just over 2 years. But then the politics shit started happening. And anybody who knows about Oregon and what's been going on here, you get these tough guy conservatives who run around going, I'm a badass type thing, and they want to talk a bunch of shit, but most of the conservatives that are here have been fleeing the state. And then, of course, this thing froze up on the camera a little bit. This thing cut on me. I must be getting up there in the memory aspect. But most people, you know, a lot of conservatives moved out of Oregon or moved to other pockets of Oregon where there's more conservative people. I'm conservative, but I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Depending on certain situations, I will lean socially liberal, depending on the subject matter. That's why I try to stay independent in thought and think for myself and not fall into this party politics bullshit. Because it should be policy over party, and it shouldn't be about what your best friend or your kids say, or your husband or wife. It should be about every independent voter out there, the free thinker out there, to try and choose the right thing, not for what just their own beliefs, but what they feel would benefit us all. I mean, there's nothing we can do on how people vote. Can't force people to vote against what they believe in. That's just how it is. But the way you treat people, you have a choice. So, I mean, yeah, I dealt with some really bad shit. You know, from a gun being pulled on me at work to coworkers constantly targeting my ass. I couldn't have a loose conversation with a customer without being accused of talking about something that I wasn't even talking about. All it took was one word. That's all it took in any conversation was one single word. And I know who the primary person was that was going back and forth, getting offended or upset about everything that was said. They had me almost fired at one time because they didn't allow me to finish a conversation with one of the other coworkers, and instead got offended by what was being said, you know, and didn't allow it to be finished. And it was based on religion, but it wasn't a religious conversation. So, I mean, I had to deal with some serious targeting from coworkers, down to one of them that I worked with that I got along with fairly well. Him and I had met up at one time, and can't remember which movie it was that we went and hung out and watched, but he told me straight to my face what my bosses were doing. They were telling the coworkers to come straight to them if I spoke about anything about certain subject matters and blah, 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 blah. Anything related. So all it would take was one word for me to get in trouble. But I'd literally watch every other one of my coworkers talk about those exact subject matters. What kept them from getting in trouble is because my bosses and my managers shared the same views. That's why they didn't care about people talking about things in that sense, about those same subject matters. So they knew that if they fired me, they would have had to pay unemployment. So what they do here in Oregon especially, they will target you to the point they will drive you out of your job until you quit. And after having a gun pulled on me by a customer, having customers start coming into my job, start calling me anything but fucking human, and then my own coworkers starting on their shit. Yeah, I didn't last much more than a couple weeks after all that. I was really done. And then the next job, I had customers after they found out where I was working was showing up at my next job. So I ended up having to tell the owners there. I was like, no, here's my 2 weeks. I know I've been here for 6 months now. I was driving 2 hours at times there, just one way, to go to work. But I wasn't gonna have that kind of shit brought to my new job, because people don't have any self-control or any type of mutual respect for other people's beliefs. They want to talk about peace and love, but they destroy you as a human being if you don't agree with what they have to say or you don't share their views. So, I mean, I got way off track with what I was saying, but I've dealt with enough shit that I've become extremely cautious of where I work and who I work with. I pay attention to the type of people working in a place. I've gone through enough abuse, and I don't have it in me to keep dealing with it. That's why I start fighting back. That's why I start getting angry all the time. Who do you turn to when everybody from coworkers to your own children are treating you like shit? And you're supposed to kiss their ass and keep being nice to them? No. After a while, it's like, no, I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. You're all grown-ass adults. Keep making threats. Keep talking shit. Keep doing all this crap to destroy my life. In the end, it's not me who has to answer to God for all that, whether you believe it or not. But as I was saying, I've been working on trying to get another business, or not another business, but trying to get a business going, an actual one. Because I've done the whole Amway thing. I've done other stuff like that, but I'm looking at doing an actual, I guess you could say, brick and mortar. Working on starting, well, I was going to do like a grocery and deli, and be kind of like a food cart aspect, in the sense that the building that I'm going to be buying, it's only like a 20 by 20. It's just a little thing. I live in a small mountain community, and for us to go get groceries of any form, we're driving at minimum 36, 37 miles, somewhere in there. And that's in one direction. If we go another one, it's like 40 miles almost. And if we go the other direction, the third direction, it's 50 miles to the next store. So, I mean, it's just going to be like a little hole-in-the-wall grocery store. And as I go, I'll add on a deli spot. And I'm not talking about a deli where, like, you find at a gas station where they got fried chicken and all this fried food. It's just going to be like sandwich meat and cheeses, that type of thing. You know, I guess you would call it a traditional deli. And I would be able to make cold sandwiches and stuff like that to sell for lunch and all that over time. But in the meantime, I'm going to be getting the building. I already have the location, all that stuff. I have my application for my business license. It's not hard to get your tax ID either. That's easy. So yeah, I'm making sure that when I go to do this loan, this equity loan thing, I'll have enough to buy the building, get all the equipment, the shelving, the cold storage, that type of stuff. I'll be able to deal with my business licensing, pay for the permitting and work to be done to get the electrical connected to it, and all that stuff. So I mean, all of it will be taken care of and all in that sense. The hard part is going to be just figuring out getting enough product to stock the thing. So once I get all this going, get my business license, and basically it's ready to be stocked up. I already have a few distribution companies I've been in contact with that I've got set up in my list and all that for where to go to and all that. I also have like 3 or 4 farms lined up as well and all that, and that's mostly for like fresh beef, fresh chicken, that type of stuff, and fruits, vegetables, and whatever. Any dry goods, even dog food, that type of stuff, I'm gonna go through a distribution place and all that, so it's a little easier. I don't know many farms that produce their own dog food out here, but yeah, the goal here, other than what I've been doing here on the property and the pond thing and all that stuff, I'm working on helping my dad retire through this process and getting my own little business going. Now, that way, I've got something to do. I'm not stuck here 24/7 doing all the repairs and updating and modifying, etc. of the property on my own. I'll have something else to do. Also bring in a better income. So anyways, I didn't mean to go off track like I did about the other shit. I was only planning on like a 20-minute video at most. So I hope you guys have a good day, and thanks for watching. Bye.